Hello and welcome to another edition of the West Tigers podcast. I'm your host tonight, Declan McCutcheon, and I'm joined by Nick Hayes, coming to you in an off-season edition, Nick, in what I can only describe as probably the saddest West Tigers podcast that I've ever had to record. I don't know about you, but I'm struggling big time today, this week. Look, like end of last week, it's just been tough. How are you finding it?
Mate, horrible. Like honestly, I know I know we've done a couple pods since the season's finished, and I've been very adamant and clear in saying that I'm glad the season's done, and I honestly am not in a rush for pre-season to start because I just like my downtime and I like my stress-free weeks and weekends without having to worry about West Tigers. And like you just said, here we are. We're 8th of December as we record today, and unfortunately, we're the club has just been absolutely tipped upside down in the last week, really. But today, with the news of Richo being, well, he stepped down, but whether he was stood down, I haven't actually seen the press release today. But losing Richo is massive. So I'm really scared of where the club's headed, Declan. I'm really worried. Unfortunately, I took Friday off last week and I went away with my son for the long week or for a long weekend, and we had a great time. I didn't think about, I tried not to think about West Tigers. I unfortunately had a quick look every now and then at social media, and it wasn't good. But I'm back in Sydney today, and look at us. We're in absolute turmoil. I don't like it, mate.
Yeah. So last week, the four independent board members of the West Tigers board sacked by the Holman Barnes Group. The boys did a really good job last week of covering that and like what it meant, and I think it probably still ages pretty well. So if anyone wants to go back and look at that, I highly recommend it. I think we'll probably stick to this podcast to mainly focus on Shane Richardson, which, as Nick said, has stepped down after 2 years into a four-year contract. So he's no longer CEO of the West Tigers. I was actually talking to Nick before, and Richardson did a press conference, and I'm not sure where he did it. It was on YouTube, and it was a Fox Sports thing. But I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. Like Nick, I can't believe we let someone like that go. Like if I was to rank all the NRL executives I know from like most qualified to turn our club around to least qualified, I think Shane Richardson would always, he just have everything. He'd be number one or number two. Like you'd only look at guys like maybe Nick Politis or like Phil Gould, different kinds of people to Shane Richardson. But in terms of that, like that experience and that, ability to turn a club from cellar dwellers to like Premiership champions. Like it's just I can't believe we've let him go. 2 years, only 2 years into a four-year deal. And it's crazy because if you look at like previous administrations, like they lasted a lot longer. Like when was Justin Pascoe appointed as CEO? And he like, I don't want to go too back into the past, but it's just absolutely crazy. What was your? I know you've already kind of said how sad you are, but like, what are your feelings right now about like Richardson in particular leaving like not that long into his tenure? It really just feels like he was here. Yeah, he just got here yesterday.
It does. Yeah, you talk about Richo and where he's been. He brought Souths from the absolute doldrums. It took him a little while, and he's talked about the Richo scale, where he started Souths and they were rubbish, and he brought them up to mediocre and average, and they became good and ended up winning a premiership. He did the same at Penrith. He brought them out of struggle street and took them up to the top. He came to the West Tigers and everyone spoke about this was his biggest challenge. But what better person to put in that role as the leader of your football club to be able to do that? And the steps that he's already made at the club, everything's been positive. Yes, he's very bullish. That's his personality, but he's probably the exact type of leader that we needed. Very upfront with the media and the public and the members when he wants to be. When he felt like there was something that needed to be said or communicated, Richo was always on his feet and presenting that to the club's stakeholders, which is us as fans and members. Um, for this to be flipped on its head within 7 days is just unbelievable. How you replace him with someone even equivalent, I don't know how you can do it. I don't think you can do it. I know there's talk about Tony Mestrov. I don't know a lot about him, but I know he's about to finish up with Manly, and he hasn't had a great history with. or recently, especially, trying to get DCE to stay at the Eagles, etc. I don't know the whole backstory about that, but a player like DCE, if you're not happy at the club, you leave, and he left. The thing that scares me with Richo leaving, I just pray it's not a domino effect because I'm really worried that I know he's tight with Benji, really good working relationship. If something happens with Benji, if he becomes disgruntled or disheartened, I don't know who comes in, like I said, and takes over Richo's position. But if Benji's not happy and he leaves, then you start worrying about Jerome Luai. I would also worry about Api Coruscant. I know he's extended and he's locked into a contract. I have no idea what the clauses are like. I think everyone's worried about what Jerome Buller's going to do, and the rumours are that he's put his contract extension talks on hold. This just has massive domino effects. And then not just the players that we've got and we're afraid of losing, what about trying to get equivalent players to come to the club to make us stronger? Like, how is that going to happen? Who's going to want to come to the club? When you look at Jerome's comment a few weeks ago, where they talked about those clauses in his contract, and I think the press was asking about him whether he'd remove them from the contract. And he kind of said, I can't remember the exact clip, but he kind of laughed and he said, "Look, my manager's looking after me, and the Tigers don't have the best track record." Well, look what's happened in the last 7 days. It speaks volumes of the people that own our club and are making these decisions to rip apart those people that are trying to manage our football team and our club going forward. I'm shattered, mate. I hate talking governance. I hate politics in general. Um, and I really don't want to, as you do, well, you obviously don't want to be here either tonight, but for anyone that might be listening, I guess it's just our chance to air our grievances. Um, yeah, just shattered, mate. Just really, really shattered. I hope Richo can put his feet up and retire. I really do. He deserves a break.
Yeah, well, I think that now is probably a good opportunity just to say thank you to Shane Richardson. Like, even though he's
Massive.
probably not listening to this podcast, but I just think that he did like such a good job in terms of like uniting the fan base and like a common message, a common like direction. And I think it's just a testament to how good he was that like I think it's just like 100% condemnation that he's leaving. I don't really see any comments that he's happy, except for like the old dinosaur Magpies fan who's probably, got connections to the Holman Barnes Group. So I just think it's such a credit to a person that when they leave, it has such an impact on a club, especially a club as, divided as the West Tigers, because I don't know, like, Shane Richardson, like he made some like tough decisions, and like some people like weren't like the Galvin situation, like a lot of people weren't happy with that. But like we went through it, like through that kind of strong leadership that he shows. He was very upfront and honest with the fans. Like never, he didn't. It's never like he was looking for validation, but like he told the line I thought between like never having to really justify the decisions he was making, the tough decisions, but then also being transparent and really good at setting the agenda and setting like the message to make us feel like we were going in the right direction. And like that's the most frustrating part because it was working. We were slowly making these incremental changes where we went from bad to average to like above average sometimes, and then we're talking about can we make the top eight, and then we're just making these like leaps forward. The He made some really good like inroads into like the home ground situation. Got like funding for Leichhardt Oval, got funding for Campbelltown. You got the comeback thing, which wasn't like overly popular, but at least it was like a strategic direction. Where we just been kind of circling the wagons for years and years, just hoping that these places would get funding from the government. But Richardson was the first person to actually go and like do it, like play hardball with like other stakeholders, and he deserves a massive amount of credit for it. And yeah, it's just I just can't believe he's gone. I just want to take this opportunity just to say thank you. And even though it's been too short, I think that I think it's important like to say these things and like not to be too negative because it will just just drag you down.
100% agree, Declan. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Maybe Richard will listen to this podcast in a week when he's got his slippers on and having a whiskey at night. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, reflecting. But yeah, you can't replace him. He's one of a kind. I feel like he's the grandfather that, I had a couple of grandfathers who both passed away, but he almost feels like family. He's
Mm.
just got that kind of aura about him. I think that's probably what he brought to the club as a whole as well. I haven't been inside the walls at Concord since Richo's taken over. I have had a tour through there, but I imagine with the sort of personality that he's got, that he would have demanded a lot of respect from everyone that worked at the club. Not just coaching staff and players, but also all of the admin staff and everyone working back office and in the merchandise store as well. But yeah, absolute shame. I'm really worried about the repercussions, as I said, but I guess there's a lot more to play out in the next week or two, which is really worrying leading up to Christmas. It's such a really important time for our club as well. The team's back training. They're probably going to break very soon before Christmas break, and you rip in from January and you start, ramping up for trials in round one. But yeah, it's such an unknown. I know I feel completely gutted in terms of our aspirations now. I hope this doesn't have a knock-on effect through the playing squad, but these things generally do. Even if they say it doesn't impact them, I guarantee it will in some way. But yeah, big changes coming. We'll probably touch on it, but we've got the march that Darcy Byrne's organising for Saturday from Pratton Park to West Ashfield. I will be going, so looking forward to seeing as many passionate West Tigers fans out there as possible. Leave your tasers and your club locks at home. Hopefully, there's no violence, but really, I do hope that we get heard. It'd be nice if the media turns up and does a bit of a story on it too, just to give it a bit of publicity, but we'll see how that goes.
Oh, yeah, I heard that Joel is going to tie himself to a tree outside the West Ashfield. So, yeah, if anyone wants to come and see that, I think that would be quite entertaining. But yeah, just before we move on from like Shane Richardson, obviously, like it's the big story, but I think the thing that just really, really annoys me, and I think it's just such a good indicator of like people is how they treat other people. So obviously, it's clear as day that Shane Richardson's kind of like style of leadership came in clash with the Holman Barnes Group, like because that's like he comes into an organization and he wants full control, and like we all agree with that. But that's clearly rubbed him the wrong way. But so instead of like coming to like some sort of amicable terms, it just seems really clear to me, and I don't have any evidence of this. This is just me like reading the tea leaves that like the end of the week, it's reported that the four members of the West Tigers board are sacked, and then it automatically goes to, well, what does this leave Shane Richardson? The executive director Daniel Payden comes out and says via YouTube that he wants Richardson to stay, that like this isn't going to have no impact on the football operations at all, like delusional stuff. They want to work with Shane Richardson, but then by Sunday it's leaking to the papers that there's been a whistleblower that's made like an integrity unit complaint about Shane Richardson and Rich Digital, like stuff we've known for years that's been on the table, like just no problems whatsoever. And then by like Monday, they're working a payout. So like, what is it? Is it that you were hoping he'd stay, or you've just been working behind the scenes and like talking to the media, trying to strengthen your position, not to give him a payout? So what I think, like like we all know this, and it goes without saying, but how can the West Tigers as a fan base ever come to trust the Holman Barnes Group ever again? Like it's just impossible at this
Yeah.
point. And this is just the final death nail in the coffin for I think the majority of fans, where I wouldn't believe a thing any of them say to me from here to the end of time, because they've just shown themselves to be classless individuals.
Completely agree. That Daniel Patton, whatever his name is. I watched that clip when it first came out. I think it only goes for 2 or 3 minutes, but when I haven't rewatched it, but when I did watch it, there were a few things that he said that didn't stick with me. I thought that just seems like an excuse, or you just throwing out this line to give justification or reason to do something like get rid of Richardson. So I remember one comment that sticks out. They talked about there were some corporate decisions that were made where the Holman Barnes Group weren't informed, and I remember sitting back thinking, how can that be possible? Like, how can the owners not know about this well and truly after it's happened? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm sure they've got representatives on the board or,
They
within those
do, yeah.
discussions with the club. So that makes zero sense to me how that was possible.
Yeah,
One of the other
Dennis
comments,
Burgess is on both boards, so that's just something that automatically, like even like
yep,
anyone could be like, well, how does that work if you've got like people who are on both boards? How can the communication be bad? You know?
100, yep, yep. Completely agree. So there's something seriously wrong there. And like you just said, he came out and made the comment that he was fully behind Shane Richardson. I know he was interviewed as well. I can't remember who interviewed him, but they were asking him a bunch of questions about, whether the club would be supporting Richardson and whether he would remain there long term. And there was no definitive answer. The response was, "We fully support Shane Richardson," which is clearly a throwaway line. But you're right, my trust level for that fella went down instantly. And sure enough, like you just said, a few days later, Richardson has shown the door. I haven't watched, like we said, that presser that he gave today, which was a few minutes long, I think. I will have a look at that later, but I would expect that there's probably not too much in that comment or those comments from Richo about the way he was let go or his decision to leave. But yeah, it's just messy, mate. It's so bad. I'm sick of the West Tigers being the joke of the NRL. We are the laughing stock. Like I've got plenty of mates that love NRL. I've got plenty of mates like yourself that love West Tigers. I'm in many group chats with my mates who are NRL fans. A lot of them don't go for Tigers, but today I was getting some stick about the whole governance issue again with the club, and it'll pop up on my phone when I'm at work and I see it, and it's like I don't want to read that. I'm just not going to read it. It's just getting to the point where it is becoming so stressful. It's impacting my ability to do my job properly, and we shouldn't have to be like that. We're supporters and fans and members of the football club that we love. Whether you're West or Balmain, I don't care. We're all West Tigers fans since 2000, or when the merger was first announced. It's one team, it's one club. We all follow this club. For us to be in the doldrums for so long, and I talked about the possible domino effects, what might happen off the back of Richo leaving. If the worst case scenario, we lose Benji, Jerome, Appy, Jareem, etc., we could potentially be behind another 10 years of absolute failure. I'm nearly 50. Not afraid to say my age, but it's been since I was 34 years old. 35 was the last time we played finals. I don't want to be 60 or in my 60s next time we play a finals game, if that even happens. We've lost already a generation of young fans. Two of my kids go to primary school locally here. We're still in the Tigers district area. I've seen over the years since my eldest, who's now 14, goes to high school, since he went to kindergarten, kids used to turn up at Mufti Day in West Tigers jerseys. They were everywhere. Now you don't see many. You see a few because there's diehard parents like myself that are Tigers fans and make their kids or coerce them to go for West Tigers. But there's a lot of jerseys from other clubs because who wants to follow a team that sucks? Who wants to follow a club that manages a team or throws money into a team that is poorly governed and poorly managed and can't perform on the field? It's just an absolute mess. We're two guys putting a pod together again for whoever might listen. I'm having a whinge, airing my grievances, but I don't know if anyone from the club or from the ownership would even hear this or even care. But what are you doing, Holman Barnes Group? Like seriously, I hope Peter V'landys can step in, the NRL can step in because it's clearly time that, and I don't care whether it's West who are the majority owners or Balmain. I know it's not Balmain, but I think it's time that someone independent needs to come over and take over this club because it can't be run by one half or one side of this merger. It hasn't worked for 25 years, albeit with a little bit of a blimp, mid 2000s, but it's not going to work going forward. We need a solution. We need the NRL to help.
Well, speaking of the NRL, Peter V'landys, he came out. I was a little bit surprised that he kind of acknowledged or he got involved, like via the media, that they were going to look into the sacking of the board members, and then he made a few comments. It's actually kind of hard to keep up because there's so much media and there's
Yeah.
stories breaking here, there, and everywhere. But he come out and he said that they're going to have a look at like the thing with the Holman Barnes Group. He was quick to say that like he's not like assigning blame to anyone, but like they need to have a look at it for like the sake of the fans, the sake of the players, the sake of Benji. And he's also come out today and I think like kind of guaranteeing that the Tigers, the joint venture, it will always be considered as the West Tigers, like it's never going to be split. So that was nice to hear from like kind of an NRL level. But I don't know, Nick, I just don't see like if like the commission or Peter V'landys can really do too much to stop this dysfunction from the Holman Barnes Group because like they as much as we don't like them, like they clearly like financially backed with the Pokies. They can pay the bills. They own 90% shares of the Tigers. I really hope I'm wrong, but I struggle to see if the NRL would like come down that hard on them when they are like financially viable. But what do you
Mm.
reckon?
It's one thing, and it is nice to hear Volandis and the NRL say that the West Tigers will always be the West Tigers. Like, that's great. What's not great is the West Tigers being the West Tigers in another 15 years' time, and we haven't played a finals game, and we're still down the bottom, and it's been that way for 30 years. Like that, that's not sustainable. I think Volandis is probably thinking of it from a perspective of 2025. We've won three wooden spoons and we've just come out of that. Only just. We were still a chance of running last with maybe look, mathematically it was probably favourable to us, but with 6 weeks to go, 8 weeks to go, there was still a chance we could come last. But we did make improvements on and off the field. Um, but this again, like I said, could set us back. Um, we're clearly not headed in the right direction. Holman Barnes Group believe that they've made the best decision for the club. Name one person that's put their hand up and says, "I agree. They've made the best decision." Shane Richardson wasn't the right person to lead as CEO. All the independent directors were doing a bad job. Like name someone that actually believes that, and you'd have to go looking pretty hard to find someone online, most likely, that will put their hand up and say Holman Barnes Group has made the right move here. So um, I'm shaking my head. I'm scratching my head, mate. I don't have an answer. You know, I'm really worried. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, mate.
And I think this is the kind of probably the most important thing is like, what do we do next in terms of a fan base? And I think for the march on Saturday, obviously there's like other people that are like more involved than us for pushing the actual event itself and the advocacy. But I think I've heard like about like boycotts of like the memberships and of games. And to me, I'm neither agreeing or disagreeing with that. I truly haven't come to like a conclusion about what I think. I'm still trying to process the whole thing. But for me, I think the number one thing that we should be focusing on in terms of advocacy is to sell the West Tigers to another owner. And those articles about Laundry pubs. Is it Peter Laundry? What was his name? Sorry.
Yeah, Laundry.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
hotels. Yep.
yeah. That he was interested in forming a coalition or a group of buyers to buy the majority of the
Mm.
Holman Barnes Group share of the West Tigers. And I just think that is something that we have to continue to push for like whenever we like come up with these events or whenever we're like in the media or talking about in the podcast because I think that's the only solution I can see now where we can start to go in the right direction. Like we just need fresh ownership in the building because, as I said before, the trust is gone with the Holman Barnes Group. They will never get that back. They are just treading water. Like, yes, we might win games. Like, even if we made the top eight, or like by some miracle we managed to get over some of this dysfunction, like we're never like you'd never trust them again because you'd always kind of have like one eye behind your shoulder, thinking, "Oh, what are they going to do? Like, do they really care about the Tigers? Are we just an asset to them that they can own?" To like gain access to the footy, like a nice corporate suite at Leichhardt or like ANZ or Combank or wherever we play. Like, is that kind of all they're interested in? Because it sure seems that they're not actually interested in what the fans think or what the long term success of the club is. So I just think that we just have to try it as hard as we can to put pressure on them to be open to offers from other parties like Laundry's pubs. What do you? I know obviously it was just one article, and
Mm.
the guy said he was keen because he's an old Balmain fan. It seemed like it was a planted media article by Dean Ritchie. It went into like sources about like how much the Tigers are worth, how much like a Holman Barnes Group might be tempted to listen to an offer. So I think there is a little bit behind it. It wasn't just like an out of the blue comment where he said that he was he might consider it. I think that there might be stuff in the background. But what do you reckon?
I'd be happy with anyone with money to come in and buy the club. Honestly, I'd be happier if it was someone that was not affiliated to either West or Balmain. I would love a completely independent owner. I just think it's this club has been so divisive since the beginning. It's either western suburbs or it's Balmain. It's you're either a Magpie or a Tiger. Are the people see a jersey come out? Are the Magpies still on the sleeves? Jersey comes out. Oh, there's too much orange. It's too much Balmain. The shade of orange has changed. It's gone from, last year's orange to a Balmain orange. Like, I'm sick of hearing it. I don't want to hear it anymore. I was a Balmain fan. I didn't care about Balmain anymore. I was a trainer with Western Suburbs in 2008 in Reserve Road. I don't care about Western Suburbs. I care about West Tigers. Like, this is my club. This is the club that I follow. I'm sick of hearing the people that own the club. Uh, Not sick of hearing the owners of the club come out and talk like they have, but I'm sick of all the chat that you hear on social media and all the rumors and innuendo. And I'm sick of talking to a lot of my mates down the golf club have affiliations with the Magpies and also Balmain because a lot of them are old fellas that played for either club, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I'm not going to name names, but I get into a lot of footy chats with those old fellas and they know people within the circle and I hear rumors and I don't want to hear those rumors anymore. Like I'm just sick of hearing it. I just want to follow a club that's owned and run by competent people and know how to run a business. Or leave the management of the football club to the people that run the club, like Richo, and let Benji do his coaching. Like, just stick your nose out of it. The people that design jerseys, let them design a jersey. Most of the feedback was good. I came out a couple of weeks ago when we did a pod after the jersey was released and said I wasn't a huge fan, but it might grow on me. Not because of the colour, but because of the stripes that they'd put across the shoulders. But again, these are just silly little things, but these are also little things that were referenced during the whole discussion around, why Holman Barnes Group jumped around in circles or jumped up and down in the first place about being disgruntled, like they weren't consulted with the jersey design. Like, it's just for any big company, if you've got this much imbalance at the top, nothing is ever going to work well down onto the field, onto the playing field. Um, the old saying, winning starts in the front office, is exactly right. We had our front office looking pretty good 8 days ago, and now it's been completely ripped out. I feel sick, like most people do. Um, Again, I'm now lost for words. I don't know what else to say, mate. I'm just that upset about it. I honestly didn't think I was going to get many words out tonight with our chat, and I know we're over half hour in. I've done a lot of rambling, but obviously all the emotions coming out at the moment. But yeah, I'm ready for independent owners, mate. I'm just sick of this and them and us and them and Western Balmain. I'm just sick of it all. One club. I just want stability, like we all do. I don't think Holman Barnes Group are the correct people to build stability or put stability from the top coming down. I don't think they are. We need help from the NRL. It's now or never. Honestly, now or never.
Yeah, it does feel like a sliding doors moment. I just remember when, because obviously we had the original petition for the Barnier review into the club, and then I remember just being at work and how everything had kind of went through, and the Holman Barnes Group had accepted the recommendations to conduct an independent review, and it just felt like, oh my God, we've finally turned a corner
100%. Yep.
here to like
Yep.
get like true like appropriate corporate governance. But now it does well and truly feel like we're back to square one because we that is indeed where we're at. But yeah, I know Nick that you are like a bit emotional, and we really appreciate you taking the time to hear your thoughts. 'Cause I think it's really valuable that we speak from the heart about this sort of stuff because we are fans, and it does like some like I can like we're diehards. Like all the people that listen here are diehards, and it genuinely made today a lot tougher. And over the weekend as well, just like, all this stuff it has a massive impact on the fans, and it's just incredible that like a group of individuals can just be so um just so selfish and like so like in their own like micro world that like they would do something like this that affects so many people. But it just shows you that when you get in like a toxic kind of bubble that these people seem to be in, that, you make these kind of decisions. And I agree with you. I think it's time for fresh ownership. And I hope that the NRL are kind of like working something behind the scenes to put pressure on, because that's what we need. But just before we leave, like obviously this is an evolving story, so I'm sure we'll be back at some point in the near future with Joe when he gets back from another one of his cruises, to talk about the Tigers. But we have some like kind of information about like who the next CEO was, and I just wanted to get your opinion, Nick. I know you said you weren't like a huge fan of Tony Mestrov from Manly. I think he was at Manly for 3 years. That wasn't great because like it seemed like the longer he was there, the worse the club got it. Like he completely butchered the Daly Cherry Evans signing to the point where like it looked like he was legitimately offering like a contract live on air as it was being discussed on NRL 360. So that's very West Tigers of the past. So maybe he will fit in really, really well. But then like there was also like the Josh Schuster deal, like what was it, like a four
Mess.
year yeah 4 year deal, 800K, was out the club the next year, probably still paying that deal. Like their juniors, nothing to write home about. It looked like Tommy Turbo was also kind of off them towards the end. I know he is staying, but like it looks like the relationship's fractured. Like they signed Luke Brooks to a 4 year deal. They were notorious for signing all the West Tigers kind of scrap heap
Yeah, I
players.
was going to say that.
Yeah,
Sign a bunch of
exactly.
Tigers.
So
Yeah.
it's just like, well, can you point me to any, and it's kind of circle back to Shane Richardson, but can you point me at anything that Mestrov does that Shane Richardson isn't better at? I just genuinely can't think of anything. Like for me, like the only reason that like someone like this would be appointed is because they're going to be a compliant CEO for the board
Yep.
who's not going to push them, who's not going to like make a big deal, and who's going to survive. Kind of like Justin Pascoe was, which is why he survived so long, because he's not a disruptor like Richardson. Like he's not going to call out what needs to be changed. And that's why I'm so worried about Benji Marshall, because Richardson had the standing in the game, the experience to be able to shield Richardson, to be able to shield Benji from this kind of pressure. But I think that now that we've got like a CEO who's been fired from his previous job, he's going to be looking out for himself here. Like
Mm.
if he gets fired again, that's probably it for him as an administrator in the NRL. So he's already coming in, kind of, this is my last chance to make an impact. The West Ashfield board, the Holman Barnes board, have shown that they're not above playing dirty. So I don't trust them at all to protect Benji Marshall at all. And they've all shown that they're kind of old West Magpies fans. So how much reverence do they really even have for a West Tigers club legend like Benji Marshall? Like I'm gonna guess not that much. I'm just like I just pray that Benji, like that he's like his apprenticeship has been super informative under Richardson, because like he's gonna need he's gonna need to show the skills of a vast experienced administrator slash coach to navigate these next few months slash season. And I just yeah, it just sucks. Like I don't know what else to say. It's just terrible. And like no, as you said, like no one is coming out and saying this is a good thing, and it's just yeah, it's just terrible. I can't articulate
Yep.
myself much more than that. It's just terrible, and this can't like we can't go on like this.
Can you imagine, unless you were desperately looking for a new job, could you imagine who would want to come in and replace Shane Richardson at West Tigers right now? Like, Richo came in at a time where we were at absolute rock bottom, like he has at other clubs, rallied everyone together. Again, bullish leader, but the type of leader, the exact type of personality that we needed. He brought everyone together. He gained Benji's trust. Uh, from what I've seen, he gained a lot of respect from the playing group, even from the fans and supporters. We all love Richo, and I've never actually met him. I tried to meet him at Leichhardt one day, but he completely brushed me. I was ready with my membership number, Richo, and you walked the other way, mate. But that sort of that character and leader that we needed, and I don't think he's replaceable, especially at the point of our club where we are right now. I can't see Tony Mestrov walking in and doing anywhere near the same job. It's going to take him or anyone a long time to earn that same amount of respect that Richo had, especially the way that Richo's left. If you asked Richo 9 days ago, whether he thought he was going to be out of a job in 10 days' time, I'm sure he would have said no. Like, where has this come from? Unless he had wind of it earlier, but I doubt he has. So I can't.
You would have sensed the tension. Like clearly, this
Yeah,
has been a problem behind the scenes for a really long time.
yeah,
But like that's the thing as well. Like with these four independent board members, like with the communication, like was there a verbal warning? Was there a written warning? Like it just came out of the blue that they'd all been sacked over
yeah,
like pretty sketchy detail. And obviously, it is like a privately run organization. They're not legally required to tell us these things, but just from a transparency point of view, like they've just been absolutely terrible. And like we've said it before, I'm going to say it again. It all comes back to trust. Once trust is gone, it's never coming back. And like I kind of feel bad for this Daniel Payton and like and if Tony Mestrov comes, like I feel bad for them because like not through their doing, but like no one's gonna have a want a bar of what they say. Like it's almost an impossible task. It's completely an environment made by the Holman Barnes Group board. Like that, no one to blame except them. And then with like Mestrov as well, like just like some of the stuff that, with like Manly players, like the Finer brothers, how they left, like has the board put any thought into how
mm,
like these like kind of pre-existing relationships are going to be impacted with him coming in? Because what if the Finer brothers don't? What if they have history from when he was at Manly, which led to their exit, and now like he's coming to the Tigers? Like you think that like a professional like impressive person would like have taken these things into account when you're hiring someone. But I'm almost positive they haven't thought of it, and we're going to hear about these issues like going forward. So yeah, just waiting to see. Obviously, nothing confirmed
mm,
yet, and I don't want to be too hard on like certain individuals because like I don't think I like we tend not to try and like put that energy out there. But we're just being honest. We have to be honest as well. We have to give like our unfiltered thoughts, and
mm,
that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, if he does, if Tony Mestrov does come and he is appointed, like obviously, like he's going to get a lot of heat, and like that's fair. Like I'm not sure what the best way to go about like being like for us to like not like hang him as soon as he comes in the door, but then also not let the Holman Barnes group off the hook
yeah.
as well. So that's going to be something we're going to have to navigate. But yeah, I think all we can really do is hopefully the march goes well on Saturday. I don't have the details. Do you have the details in front of you about?
Not in front of me. I do know it's a 10:30 start at Pratton Park, and I did
Mm,
look up on Google Maps because I wasn't sure how far it was. I think it's only 350-meter walk to West Ashfield. So I have no doubt the club will be well aware that we will be coming for a chat, hopefully. I hope it's well organised. I'm sure it will be. And I'm sure it won't be aggressive or anything it doesn't need to be, but we do need to be heard. We're all extremely disgruntled. I would hope that West Ashfield slash Holman Barnes Group can put someone fairly high standing, personality up front to speak with us, or at least Darcy on our behalf. So it'll be an interesting morning to see how that goes. I have cancelled golf on Saturday, so I can attend this. So I hope it's
oh
worthwhile.
wow,
Yeah,
official.
I've shifted it to Sunday, man. I'm playing Sunday instead.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
as Nick said, I just looked it up on the ambush. So it's Saturday, December 13th, 10:30 a.m. at Pratton Park. So yeah, I just strongly encourage everyone to get down and like show your support because this is a crossing moment where like
Massive.
depending on what can happen could easily set the tone for the next 10 years. So I highly encourage everyone to come. We'll be there. Um, yeah, very keen to see Joe get tied to the tree to protest. Like, yeah, back, yeah. So very keen to
Yeah.
see that. But yeah, thanks, Nick, for making the time to speak to me. I know it's tough. Like, usually we like to have a break to kind of like relax a little bit, watch the cricket this time of year, and like kind of recharge for next year, which is pretty full on. But yeah, unfortunately, being a West Tigers fan, we don't always have that luxury.
Not this time. No, it's this is probably going to be one of the toughest off seasons that we've had to go through. I know it was a couple of years ago, but we were in a pretty dark place coming out of a wooden spoon spot. But yeah, this is a big one. This will be defining the next week or so. So fingers
Mm.
crossed everything goes well, mate. But looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, Declan.
Yeah,
I'll be there, mate. I'll look out for you.
very, very exciting. All right. Thank you everyone for listening and catch you guys next time.
Thanks, mate. See you, buddy.